Greetings one and all, my name is Lancer and welcome back once again to Fate Zero. We'll be watching episode 19 and last time on. The first part of Kiritsugu's backstory. We saw the loving childhood that he had and how it so swiftly was taken from him. No thanks to his father, as his childhood friend Shirley was subject to the Dead Apostles research, which then spread and led to the whole island being infected, and well, Kiritsugu took it upon himself to execute his own father, and the mercenary Natalia is now looking after him, and sadly, Kiritsugu, his pain will only continue going into the rest of his life. Let's get right into the episode. Get to see this again. We never actually saw what happened to him and what she did this. Didn't know she was a surgeon.
Mages carry the pain of that crest.
Oh, right, it was the crest. It wasn't... I thought he, got injured.
You know, I think your dad really gave you the perfect name. Your origin is based on cutting and tying, kid. The nuance is a little different.
Actually see her face this time.
Kiritsugu, with the characters for cut and tie. These will be your ace in the hole.
Origin rounds.
If your target attempts to use any magic against it, it will cut his circuits and thoroughly fry them.
Yeah, we saw that. I mean, he used 2, though. I mean, it's hard to say because sometimes he'll use the contender and shoot a regular bullet. Sometimes he'll use an origin bullet. How did she get the crest? I guess, because they took his body, maybe, and then transferred the crest from Norikata to him. The most we ever really see with crest transfers is when Rin gives her crest to Shiro, which that one was not nearly as painful. Getting to see the early days of his work. Yeah, the natural pulling of the trigger. Jumping around the time.
After leaving the island, I spent the next several years living with Natalia Kaminsky.
Who is he telling the story to? Because this is present day Kiritsugu, or at least later. Might just be he's talking to Airi, telling her his story.
That meant choosing the same path as Natalia, the solitary path of a highly skilled master hunter. She was a total freelancer, interested only in the money she could earn. The Mages Association and the Church, the rivalry between those two enormous organizations, kept her business booming.
I get why she saves him initially, but why does she keep him around? I guess just she saw the potential. He pulled the trigger on his own father despite never using a gun in his life, and it just was so natural. She's at least being careful with it. She's being motherly in her own way. Again, we never know, at least in this, who Kiritsugu's mother was or what happened to her, though context clues, it's safe to assume what probably happened to her. And I mean, hell, you can kind of use some more context clues and kind of realize I don't even think Norikata wanted to have Kiritsugu, but some part of him kept him alive.
During that time,
finger off the trigger.
I witnessed many tragedies like the one on Arimago Island.
This time it was living people.
All around the world, on every single continent, the same horrors happened every day. Kind
of symbolic, the white shirt Kiritsugu. It's kind of like the Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, where it's just all black suit, but just that little bit of white that comes out by the end. He's still holding on to that purity, but yeah, by the time we get to Fate Zero, he's wearing all black suit. Simple things. This is stuff I really hope that the novel and manga delves more into. It's because there's so many different things. There was a church member in there that he shot. Yeah, his adventures. He matured quickly. Fools.
Are you trying to be a hero or something?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I thought I had killed my father to keep more people like them from dying.
Killing merely one man isn't the solution. It's not that simple. Kill every single person all around the world who's like our target here. If you could somehow manage to do that, maybe it would be possible.
Funnily enough, I think Natalia already realizes what the Grail would do to carry out Kiritsugu's wish and what that means. Kiritsugu is still at this point naive, and even going into his adulthood, he is still naive, not realizing just the truth that if he wants to save the world from war and all this, there wouldn't be a world left to save at all.
I was kidding. I'm not serious.
No, I'm inspired. I like that he adopts her trench coat.
No matter what happens, do whatever you must to survive. That's a rule I set for myself when I got started in this business. Regardless of what you face, put your own life ahead of anything or anyone. Look, kid, if you try to save someone and you get yourself killed, it'll all be for nothing.
I don't think it's possible to save everyone.
Well,
but I do want to save as many as I possibly can.
Funnily enough, that's the ideology he comes back to after going through everything. It's like, I'll save whoever I can. But then he goes through his life being needs of the many, needs of the few. I'll kill whoever I need to save whoever I can. Even if it means saving people, I'll kill people. But then it's not till after he gets his wish, which he doesn't, he comes back to that, just like, I'll save whoever I can. And that'll be good enough. Another job.
This target really is a nasty piece of work. The mage Odd Vorzak. He's a dead apostle who uses his bee familiars to create his ghouls.
He is a dead
Mages.
apostle.
The last town he visited was completely and utterly annihilated.
A town.
I was from a town.
Can I have one of those too?
How old do you have to be in your country to smoke tobacco? I won't try to stop you, but they aren't good for you.
Well, at least she knows. How old is he at this point? I kind of assumed he was at least like late teenager. I don't think he's in his 20s at this point. But he said like the next several years. I don't feel like they were with each other as long as I think they were. Like I always thought they were kind of like maybe 10 years together, which I mean still might be the case. 'Cause I don't know how young he was when she found him because it's hard to judge ages in anime. Again, I'm pretty sure in Fate Zero he's like mid 30s at least. I could Google these things, but why inconvenience myself? Little do they know what this job would be.
There's a flight from Paris to New York in 4 days. Vorzak will be on board.
I'll be handling this myself. This guy is a clever target who managed to give me the slip once. You gotta clean up your own messes, right?
Well,
So,
like, kill him there, no? Actually, that would not have been a good idea to kill him there, because knowing what happens on the plane.
He has associates working for him in New York. I want you to go there and eliminate them.
How did he get there before they did?
Shut your mouth, kid.
Flying to New York specifically. Simpler times.
Roger. Loud and clear.
Tracking.
all right. Good luck to both of us then.
You're not exactly inconspicuous, Natalia. He is a dead apostle, but yet he's just walking around normally. Did My Hero Vigilantes get the idea of the bees controlling a person from this? I'm pretty sure I talked about exactly that when that character was introduced in that show. I talked about Odd Vorzak. Kiritsugu's already a master at this. No one gonna question that. You tweaking off the zins.
I'm just glad you were able to kill him with a minimum of force.
All right, Kiritsugu. His corpse is in the passenger cabin.
The only thing we need now is a doctor. We'll carry out our sick patient.
That's kind of a subtle thing. Her, like, nearly putting on a white trench coat instead of a black one. Just like, huh. So close to kind of being free. In a way. This is obviously me reading way too much into some stuff, but that's kind of, again, what I do here. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of just that joking thing, just like, oh, I'm a couple weeks from retirement, which, you know, we'll get to all that talk in a second. But I feel like if she did live through this, she would have ended up better than what Kiritsugu was. And hell, maybe Kiritsugu, I feel like Kiritsugu was going to end up where he was, no matter what. I feel like there was a chance for her to maybe go clean. Dead apostles again. Hid the bees in his body.
You have to get out.
I'm not exactly close to the ground here. I didn't come prepared to skydive out of here.
This isn't good. Looks like they've taken the cockpit.
How does she get up there?
Got no choice. I'm coming home alive. Carrying Vorzak's body. You got something to say?
Yeah. You can do this, Natalia.
Prepare a nice warm bed for me and wait.
Yeah, he's already accepted it. That same, like, trying to throw away, you know, like what he did with his father, like swinging off to the side. I mean, I think Natalia at this point has already accepted it as well, because I mean, there's parachutes on a plane. I mean, taking a job that means you're going on a plane, you'd pack an emergency chute. This is fate.
You didn't fall asleep, did you?
Reading you loud and clear.
Yeah,
Natalia.
I'm not sleeping through this.
If you'd slept in a bed last night with me stuck up here, I would have to kill you after this is over. For the time being, I'm alive. The plane is also undamaged. I made it up to the cockpit fairly easily.
How? I guess just run and gun and hope you don't get stung by anything. Put on the trench coat, like, over your head and just...
I also think I can pilot it, assuming the controls are similar to a Cessna.
It's a Boeing.
I'm the only one here who hasn't been bitten or stung. 300 passengers and crew. All that's separates me from the night of the living flying dead is the damn cockpit security door.
I love all of this, just Kiritsugu like talking to her, just like, yep. I'm sure, like, because I mean he's talking to her as he's on the boat. I'm sure she can hear just that he's on a speedboat. Natalia knows. It's like they don't need to tell each other what to do at this point. I'm sure it's something that they established a long time ago, just like, hey, if something happens, a certain phrase maybe that's uttered from her, you know what to do, especially when dead apostles are concerned. But just, yeah, just him going there, finding a black market dealer that can get him an RPG, a homing RPG at that.
Will you be able to make it out of this alive?
Well, the cockpit door is actually pretty tough. It's the landing that's worrying me. This thing may be too big for me to handle by myself.
Oh.
I know you'll be able to manage it.
At least he's assuring her.
I can handle the landing. But what do I do with all these monsters in back?
Don't worry about that. I have it all worked out, Natalia.
That he does.
50 more minutes till we get to the airport. That's a little bit too long to spend praying. Kid, keep me company for a while, okay?
She's her kid, basically. Again, depending on how young he was when he was on the island, she potentially had him longer than Norikata ever did. I would say she was more of a parent, but I can't say she's the best influence. She definitely inspires him. Not the bees. Figured they eventually die out,
When
right?
you first said you wanted to help me with my work. You just didn't look ready to relent no matter what I said.
I showed that little promise as a student.
No, it's not that. You had a lot of potential. Too much. The ability to pull a trigger to kill regardless of your feelings
Yeah.
is a skill most killers take many years to fully develop. You had that skill from the very start.
It's those eyes. Makes me wonder how long it took her to develop it. Again, it's one of those cases. There's so many different shows and whatnot where it's just like, I would love to know the full story of this character, but it's honestly better that you don't see the whole story. Like, even Kiritsugu, there's still a lot that you don't see with his life, which I feel like is cool, because, I mean, it allows you to sort of fill in the gaps for yourself. I mean, in different medias and whatnot, in the novels and mangas and whatnot, the gaps are filled in with Kiritsugu's life. Again, like, you don't need to know everything. Like, Natalia, you can kind of yes, her life was probably similar to Kiritsugu's. She was probably a normal girl at one point. She was found and trained. Or it was a case where she was trained from a young age to be something like this. And then eventually she just became freelance and broke away from it. But just that of Kiritsugu pulling the trigger regardless of feeling. It's a hell of a starting point, because then it's just, you continue to not feel. Like, one of the fascinating things with like these assassin type characters in these shows is just they have like some sense of code in the beginning, at least, where it's like, I'm killing because it's the greater good or whatever. It's like I talked about before, just that whole idea of addiction. It's just like, oh, just this once, I'll do it. Only in this scenario, but at some point for Kiritsugu, it just became so natural. I mean, you kind of have to be in order to do something like that over and over and over again. Granted, he's not doing it to innocent people and anything like that. It's whatever the job requires, but that's why it's fascinating having Kiritsugu, who is one of my favorite characters in all of anime and all of anything, and now having him sort of contrasted with Thorfinn, who is also one of my favorite characters in anything. How they do have a similar journey. It's just Kiritsugu, his life ends so soon after he's already kind of hit that point where it's just like, oh, maybe no one deserves to die, you know? That's why I still wish there was a little more fleshed out of what happens to Kiritsugu after the events of Zero than going into Fate Stay Night, because there's those 10 years where he's with Shiro. You know, I just would have loved to know what he struggled with internally, but this is the beginning of all of it still.
Choosing your occupation based solely on your talents doesn't necessarily guarantee your happiness. If you think only of what you should do and completely ignore what you want to do, then you're just a simple machine, a force of nature. That isn't how a human being should live.
Fitting having that. I never really thought about it. The two speeches in this, just like Natalia right now being like, that isn't how a person should live. Last time we heard that was Ryder talking to Saber about, that isn't how a person should live. Which I feel like goes hand in hand with what Ryder says to Saber. I mean, different conversations, but same sentiment, just what you want to do versus what you should do. And how like doing what you should do kind of makes you a machine in that way. I don't know, it's just that phrase of just like, that's not how a person should live. Again, amazing conversations in this. To be fair, this is probably the first time she's ever really saying this to him. I mean, because she knows this is the end. So it's kind of just like she's saying everything she never really got to say. But I feel like a lot of this stuff should have been said to him at some point when he was younger. I don't know. I guess maybe through raising Kiritsugu, she kind of found that peace that she never had, and it wasn't really till the very end where she's just like, oh yeah, maybe, which I guess is fitting considering that Kiritsugu has the same thing with Shiro eventually. He saves him from this tragedy, and then it's through all of that that he's able to sort of just take a step back and realize maybe all this wasn't worth it after all. I mean, different ideas, again, like Natalia's is much more of like a personal finding of happiness, whereas obviously Kiritsugu, it was more trying to save the world. Similar ideas, I get what they're going for with this.
You know, I always thought of you as a much colder person than that.
What are you talking about? Of course I'm cold.
You've always been a rather strict teacher. You never held anything back.
Under normal circumstances, training a boy like you is the father's job. I'm afraid that in your case, I basically took away your chance for that kind of upbringing. I did feel a little bad about it. This was the only way of life I knew how to teach you.
So you consider yourself my dad?
I'm a full-grown woman, you rude little jerk. At least call me mother.
You're right.
I spent an awfully long time on my own in this bloody business. So long that I even lost track of the fact that I was alone. But it's been pretty entertaining in its own way.
Well, you
Having
weren't alone
something like a family in my
for a
life.
while.
For all these years, I did always think of you as a mother.
I mean, yeah, because we don't know his actual mother. I mean, he probably never knew his actual mother either. I'm sure she was just another experiment.
I think we better quit saying stuff that'll embarrass us next time we see each other, okay?
Well, the next time we see each other, we'll be in hell.
I'll end up dead, you know?
How tragic would that be?
You know, maybe I'm just getting too old for this job.
Shut up, man.
Maybe the reason I screwed up so badly is because playing at having a family made me lower my guard. If that's true, I should walk away. Maybe it's time to retire.
She's saying, like, you know, all the cliche things because, like, she knows. That's why she's saying all this now anyway. It's just because we'll never get the chance again. Even still, it's like, you know, that human part of you is kind of just like, but maybe. But just in case it wasn't obvious enough. And she goes and says stuff like that. One can't help but maybe hope. It is really fitting now, just like seeing the setting she's in, surrounded by all this blood, just talking about just, maybe it's time I retire from all this. And it's like, well, take it from Kiritsugu later. Even if you walk away from it all, the blood-stained path you left behind will still always be there. Even though Natalia definitely lives, I feel like, happier than most assassin characters. At least, you know, she's more like kind of upbeat. She has a lot of skeletons in her closet, both figuratively and literally. I just feel like she was the ideal that Kiritsugu never got to reach in terms of this. It's also for the best, I think, that he never did reach that. Just being able to kill and not really think about it. Well, I mean, he doesn't think about it, but it's just more that it doesn't really affect him, at least externally.
The only thing left for me to do would be to really act like a mother, I guess.
Maybe hug you for once. Hopefully one of those birds don't get in the way.
Natalia, you are my real family.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Shirley, I killed someone again. Just like I did with my dad.
I killed my parent. Again, these episodes are paced so much faster than what I remember. I mean, it's one thing knowing, obviously, what's going to happen. Like, it's a simple concept, but, like, I don't know, there's enough of that fate flavor to it. You see it coming a mile away from, like, the start of this episode, really. It's just, there's still that part of you that's just like, but maybe, you know? Goddamn me for being hopeful.
I saved an awful lot of lives. If Natalia had landed that plane safely, there's no telling how many people might have died.
Needs of the many.
Her sacrifice prevented all of that. Surely. Shut your mouth! Just shut up! Bastard!
Tell me, Carrie, what do you want to grow up to be?
I want to.
Where justice is found. Pain. So much pain. Well, that was episode 19 of Fate Zero. That always gets me, man. That scene. Obviously, Natalia's death, the actual explosion, all that, it gets me, but just her smiling, just that frame at the very end. And I mean, that works just because, like, it's kind of a blink and you'll miss it moment, just the smile, but like, it works. Matt Mercer, man, just there with that voice acting is the part that gets me is like, you see him start to scream, but like the voice is kind of delayed before it starts coming out because like that just feels real. Because like in the Japanese, I'm sure it's just, he screams and it's like, you know, he starts screaming, but I don't know, just like that of like, you hear him like inhale and then he starts to scream. That just felt so natural. I love Matt Mercer just obviously in every voice acting role he's done, but this forever will be my favorite he's ever done. He's a great voice actor, but I feel like this is the most emotionally rich character he's ever done. I've been waiting to bring it up, but Jacksepticeye, he did an interview a couple of years ago with Matt Mercer. I'll put up the clip in a moment, but he actually talks about how his favorite character he's ever voiced is Kiritsugu.
My favorite character. There's an anime I did years ago called Fate Zero. My character in that, Kiritsugu Emiya, is just a phenomenally strange and morally ruined individual in a lot of ways. He's this assassin character who is the protagonist of the series, so he's not a good guy by any means.
Yeah.
Very much an ends justify the means type for the best of humanity from his perspective, but then learns through his story that maybe even that's not the right way to do things.
Yeah.
He seems to have a heart, and he acts seemingly from that position, but then you question it often throughout, and just being able to work through that narrative and work through his personal journey and having everything fall apart around him and how that affects him and how he tries to salvage his impact in the world through it. I don't know, that show left an impact on me as a performer.
Every time I see a Matt Mercer interview, I'm always just like, oh, I would love for him to talk about Fate Zero at all, but it's always just like, yeah, he probably is nice. He's probably gonna talk about, you know, Resident Evil, you know, his D&D stuff. When I saw that interview, I became so giddy in that moment, just like, oh my God. Like, I actually started to cry, just like, thank you, Matt Mercer. Thank you for still thinking about this character. I don't know if that will still be the case to this day, but I like that at least after all that time, even a couple of years ago, he still was thinking about that. And just the way he talked about it too, which I mean, especially having these two episodes. It was more for this episode because obviously he wasn't voicing young Kiritsugu, but he was voicing in this episode. It's just like, you don't forget that. And then especially obviously going forward to the rest of the show, you don't forget stuff like that, even if it is a job, you know, voice acting, all of that. It's a great 1-2 punch of episode. Again, I was very tempted to just watch both of them in one episode, but again, for the sake of it, I wanted to divide all these up one-on-one just to have more time to talk about them individually. Again, like Fate Zero has a lot of those episodes. I mean, going towards the end, there's like a good 1-2-3 punch, but there's a lot of those where it's just like these two-parters, like how we started this second half with the Mion River battle, where it's like it kind of is just like a short film with just those two episodes. Like I could see it edited together and stitched to where like it seamlessly goes from one episode to another. I love that we have that song as well, Monten by Calafina, specifically for these two episodes. It separates it from the rest of the show enough, like we don't have the opening for it, just like because it almost like kind of operates separately from the show itself. And honestly, you could even look at it like you could watch Fate Zero and maybe even skip these episodes. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you do, but I mean, you kind of could. I mean, not really, just because the whole like Shirley thing does get brought up later, obviously. Again, you could start the show and watch those episodes, or you could save it for the end, you know. I think it works all around. Like obviously though, I'm not going to release the episodes in this order. Definitely for rewatches if you do it, or even if you're showing it to somebody for the first time, do it this way where you go episode 16, then do 18, 19, and then 17. Again, it works so well coming off of the Saber conversation, just talking about in your youth you aspired to be a hero and just like something tragic happened, right? And then you go forward back into the main story. Honestly, like though Fate obviously is all about like the Grail War and the servants, it's two of my favorite episodes that are detached, I feel, from the Fate story, because really the only thing that ties it to the rest of it is like the dead apostles and Kiritsugu himself. It just works so well and I love it. And then again, like me talking about just like you could watch it to where you have these two episodes at the start, just because I feel like you would look at Kiritsugu a little differently, maybe even have more sympathy for him and empathy going into the main story, which again, it's an experiment I maybe want to do with somebody, just to be like, how would you look at it if we did these episodes first? But that'll be something for another time to discuss. But either way, this was my reaction to episode 19 of Fate Zero. Join me next time for episode 20 as everything else will be coming out soon. Until next time, I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching.